After watching and reviewing Daredevil, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, last up was Iron Fist. Now this show had so much grief thrown at it when it first aired. I never read much into it, of course, I didn't want to spoil myself, but after binging the show in just over a week, I can come out and say that in my view, it wasn't that bad. It's definitely the weakest of all the four Marvel and Netflix shows, but there is still enjoyment to be found throughout the 13 installments. Finn Jones plays our lead character, Danny Rand, a billionaire's son who has been presumed dead for over 15 years after his plane had crashed. Turns out he is far from it, and after re-emerging back into the world in completely unfamiliar surroundings, he finds himself fighting battles on two fronts. He looks to redeem his family's company on one side, as well as fulfilling his duties as the Iron Fist on the other. The backstory to how he became the Iron Fist is still bare at best. We got the gist of things and how he earned his title and power in Kunlun, but I was surprised that we didn't get a full-on backstory monk-heavy episode that I felt we needed. Either way though, Danny now is a martial arts and kung fu expert, and when needed, he is able to call upon the mystical power of the Iron Fist. Now as a character, Danny is a bit hit and miss. Sometimes he's kicking ass with his back against the wall, and others he's being stupidly naive, reckless, and downright whiny. Granted, you've got to give him a little bit of slack, the guy's been out of the loop with the real world for the past 15 years, but still, some of his decision making was full on moronic. When by himself, Danny is average at best. Just average. The only times that he was able to rise above that was when he was in his element alongside dojo owner Colleen Wing. She was the star of the show. Jessica Henwick was a more appealing lead than Danny in most ways. She was very likeable, had a fiery personality, and was perfectly capable of defending herself if the need arose. She felt like the heart of the show, and she elevated Danny whenever the two were on screen together. And the enemy was one you'll all be too familiar with if you've been watching Daredevil. We've seen Matt Murdock go up against the Hand, and here it was Danny's turn. The purpose of the Iron Fist, as we are told, is to destroy the Hand, but killing is something Danny isn't all that familiar with, and it's that humanity pushing back against his duty that is central to Danny's story. The Hand are a formidable force, and it was a smart move to have their inclusion and Madame Gao feature heavily as it linked together with some other key aspects in this Marvel universe. Gao was terrific whenever she was on screen, always manipulating the situation and causing Danny to question his every move. Her episodes especially were much stronger than some of the others, but something that I'll admit did catch me by surprise was the reveal that Colleen had been part of the Hand since the very beginning. Her and Danny's connection was already built before she knew who he was, but that shocker for him guaranteed to hurt more than those cuts, stabs and bruises that he sustained on his path. She was one of the few people who he really trusted, and to have it be revealed that she was part of the group that he was sworn to destroy almost sent him over the edge. It wasn't until Colleen's sensei Bakudo showed his face until she finally viewed the Hand for exactly what they were. They would have killed her if it wasn't for her prowess and skill, as she sought revenge on Bakudo for the manipulation and for all he had done. Now you'd think with that explanation he'd be frontrunner for villain of the season, but not the case, as it was David Wenham's Harold Meacham that took the prize. There was always something shifty about him, hell he'd been faking his death all these years, but it wasn't until his conflict with Ward truly came into the light when you began to see Harold for the monster he really was. We learnt after he was diagnosed with cancer that Harold took a deal from the Hand. He was to run their drug business through Rand Enterprises, and for his cooperation and loyalty he would be rewarded with a return from the grave. However, a catch that wasn't explained to him was that every time he came back from the dead, he would lose a little more of himself, part of his soul per se. Then, after Ward had killed him, there was not for a second that I was ever convinced. Harold was being focused on too much to be killed off like that, so unless they planned to turn Ward into the bad guy and take the reins from his father, killing Harold off permanently defeated the purpose of his character. Stranger things have happened in TV, but his return was very predictable. Many of his lines were also horridly written, and he spoke in a slow, calm demeanour. I mean, Christ, it took forever for him to get a sentence out sometimes. None of this was down to David Wenham. He did the best he could with the material that was provided to him. But as a character, overall, he just fell flat on his face. And I don't even want to mention the finale because it was probably one of the weakest episodes in the entire season, if not the worst. To have Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, struggle against a man more than double his age with barely any training in combat was a stretch in itself. He needed to be taken down in a different way than we saw play out, not a full-on fight, and to be capped off with him being kicked off a building was a disappointing end to one of the central characters of the season. But if there was one thing that annoyed me more than anything else in that finale, it was the what the fuck is going on scene with Joy and Davos just before the finale was over. I've not spoken about the Meachums aside from the resurrected one, but I felt from the beginning a little too bogged down with the amount of drama Joy and Ward were getting tangled up in. You need something in the story, of course, but the pair were going from being the steadfast captains of Rand Enterprises to just cracking apart and being two faces of gloom whenever they were on screen. Joy was the lesser of two evils because I detested Ward's character at first. His acting was great, definitely one of the best performances in the show, but sorry Joy, well, actually I'm not sorry because your choice in the finale is just mind-bogglingly ridiculous. I was scratching my head as to why. Why on earth are you even contemplating killing Danny? You just found out your father was behind everything and that he was setting Danny up from the very beginning. And the next time we see you what? Oh, well, might as well just kill him now then. I mean, what the fuck? And I never thought I'd say I'd enjoy Ward either, but in the final couple of episodes, he warmed to me. Fine actor again, hopefully his material to work with is much better when season 2 rolls around. Just please don't make it brother versus sister because at the moment I've just got that feeling.
Guardian of the Gate.
Destroyer of the Hand.
My overall verdict for Iron Fist's first season is a tough one to call. On some levels I would say it's a 7, and on others down to a 6. But after what was for me a bitterly disappointing wrap up in the finale, I will decide on a strong 6 out of 10. It's a high 6 and at moments it does rise above that to give us some cool moments. But from start to finish it is very inconsistent and has some character decisions which leave you banging your head against the wall. The show does take longer for you to get the feel for it. Finn Jones doesn't entirely convince you and it's only via his co-stars that he is able to reach his peak. And it was down to some of the supporting cast members to increase the quality and show themselves as the true standouts. Colleen, who I've spoken about, is the shining star. The returning Claire Temple was another candidate for MVP, and Jerry Hogarth also cropped up for some more Marvel continuity. And as a show focused on a character who is proficient in many forms of martial arts, the question was, how were its combat and fighting scenes? Well, to be frank, nowhere near as good as Daredevil's. Where Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are completely different characters, Iron Fist does have the martial arts background and training that can be compared to the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. And when you put them face to face, they just do not match up. It lacks the punch it so sorely needs, and it has barely any high stakes or tension raising scenes. Some of the best moments I can remember were the infiltration of Gal's facility purely because it teamed Danny alongside Colleen and Claire. The Hand episodes as well for the most part were the better portion of the season, and the one that crops to mind was the penultimate episode. Just early on, it felt like the show could be renamed to the Meachum family drama. Too much time was spent with the pair. Ward was a prick, an unpleasant individual, and that's putting it lightly. And where his material did get better as the season went on, the drama-heavy segments which were in the first few episodes likely put a lot of people off. I wouldn't begrudge anyone for saying that they just couldn't get into this show. I tend to be alright with more slow builds, but now Iron Fist's first season is out of the way, perhaps it can reflect on its flaws and focus on strengthening them when the next season airs. Hopefully the show will grow from this, and Dany along with it. Just please don't make Joy the enemy with Davos, because right now it looks that way. Change it while you can. Overall, Iron Fist is alright. It's not half as bad as some of the other shite on TV, some stuff is just unbearable. Perhaps I enjoyed it more because of the perception that people have said about it. But honestly, I never read into any of the media or news outlets, and I was happy enough to binge watch the whole thing. It's not as good as any of its other Marvel counterparts, but it's still watchable, and you will get some cool moments to enjoy. The Hand being involved was my favourite aspect purely because of their part in Daredevil, and I would not be surprised to see the Hand crop up, or perhaps their real leader be the driving force behind the story for the Defenders. Not too far now, so we'll find that out very soon. That'll do it from me. What did you guys think of Iron Fist's first season? Do you think some of the criticism levelled at it is harsh, and what do you think needs to improve with the show going forward? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. And I'll see you on the next one.
Dany.